Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl, the Brooke Ashley, and today we are here to discuss The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, Season 11, Episode 13. Beverly Hills, the way you guys ate and left no crumbs with this episode, stop playing with me. The way you and Potomac are neck and neck for the #1 spot right now.
I love it. I love it.
Sutton, I know I've called you everything but a child of God these last few recaps, but baby, you came in and you ate that.
She's about to do what she's about to do, and she's about to show what the girls should have did.
Sutton, you're about to have me eating my words. The way you did not back down, the way you had Miss Erika on the hot seat, you had your notes out, you had your receipts, you had all the article clippings out too. What? You and Garcelle are about to be the MVPs of this season because y'all have single-handedly stolen the show at the midnight hour, and yes, ma'am. Garcelle, I know I got on you in last week's recap because I felt like you did not read those ladies down for filth, but I was here for you. This episode, you said no ma'am, and you let them have it. Mr. Reed, not only are you a phony and a wannabe, you can also add coward to your list too. Because the way you sat up there and changed your entire story at that dinner table, I said, okay, I see what we're doing now. Lisa, Rinna, and Kyle, y'all are just as pathetic as Dorit. I want to understand what Erika Jane has over y'all for y'all to be riding so hard for her. And Miss Erika, I'm about to wear you out from start to finish. So, with all that being said, let's just hop right on into this recap because we don't have a minute to spare. We start off the episode right where we left it last week. Sutton is sitting there talking about how when she left La Quinta yesterday, she left feeling very concerned and how there are red flags everywhere. She then goes on to say how she spoke with her attorney the other day and asked, what in the world have we gotten ourselves into? Lisa, Rinna, and Kyle are looking at Sutton like she's crazy. Sutton keeps going and says, look, I'm not being a fair weather friend. I just have to protect myself. I am all for being a good friend, but I am not going to be loyal to anybody to my own detriment. So Lisa Rinna is pissed at what Sutton's saying, and she's like, I just don't understand this. How does this affect you, Sutton? Sutton says, baby, at the end of the day, I am on multiple boards. I cannot have my name associated with any craziness. Well, child, she goes on to say how Ruth Madoff has no friends because people do not like to be associated with cheaters, liars, scammers, anything of the sort. I said again, Sutton told no lies because folks want nothing to do with any sort of criminal activity, especially in regards to money. And again, I still want to know what Erika has on Rinna because the way Rinna was going so hard for Erika this entire episode, the way she was so pissed at Sutton saying, you know what, y'all, I want to step back from this because this is a bit much and I'm not trying to be caught up in it. And when she said to Sutton, so what if Erika's innocent? What are you going to say then? Sutton said, well then, if she is innocent, I'm going to eat crow pie. But until then, I'm not trying to be associated with all this. Sutton makes it plain that at the end of the day, she has to put herself first. Again, I don't believe in being loyal to anybody or anything that's going to become a detriment to me. So Lisa Rinna is getting even more pissed off by what Sutton's saying, and she says, what a really shitty thing to do to a friend right now, like she needs us. I said, skirt! What we're not going to do is sit up here and have amnesia on how you did your best friend of 25 years, Denise Richards. You threw her to the wolves last season. We're not doing this, Rinna. For you to have Erika's back, and Erika's situation is a million times worse, it just isn't making sense. You sat up here and threw a 25-year friendship away, but you have Erika's back, and you've only known Erika for 5 years. I cannot stand Lisa Rinna. I really wish that Sutton would have cursed Lisa Rinna all the way out, because Rinna is just a hypocrite. That woman is loyal to nobody but herself and the bag. Lisa Rinna couldn't tell me, and excuse my French, y'all, because this episode had me so heated, I might use a little bit of profanity, so please don't think any less of me. But if you do, it is what it is. But Lisa Rinna couldn't tell me jack shit about being a good friend or trying to make me feel bad about not sticking by Erika. Absolutely not. No, ma'am. So now Dorit pipes up and says, I don't want our support for Erika to be seen as support for all the atrocious things that were done. I said, oh, Dorit, it's so funny how you were making sense in this scene, but then you sat up there and flip-flopped and changed your entire stance when you got in front of Erika. But again, let me just hush and not jump ahead. And side note, Miss Dorit, I think that you should just keep quiet about anybody else's issues, seeing that you and PK owe $1.3 million. But I digress. So Sutton goes on to say, look, y'all, I have some serious gossip. One of his former partners left the law firm because his wife had a suspicion that something was off. And this was 10 years ago. This has been going on longer than just a few years. So Kyle interjects and she straight up asks Sutton if Sutton believes Erika. Sutton says nope. Starting with the whole 3 years ago and the head injury, stuff is just not making sense. So Crystal jumps in and says, yeah, I mean, it all seems like it started 3 years ago, but then reading the article, you realize that this was a decade ago. Sutton says, yup, like I'm just not buying this whole 3-year package that she's trying to sell. Sutton goes on to say, look, 10 years ago, it was found out that Tom was not paying his clients their settlement money. On top of that, now his lawyer is trying to cite that he has some mental unstableness. Like, I just don't believe it. She also goes on to say that she believes that Tom's lawyers and Erika have been talking. I said, Sutton, you better put on your detective hat and try to solve the riddle because Mama was on point. Sutton said, I don't give a damn what anybody says. Something ain't adding up. Something in the milk ain't clean. And I'm going to get to the bottom of this whether y'all are with me or not. I said, Sutton, you better do it. So Sutton goes on to say that she's also having a hard time being friends with Erika because this whole thing speaks to character and reputation. I don't care what anybody says. Sutton is absolutely on the money. In this life, your name and reputation are everything. And once your reputation gets damaged and messed up and is connected to shady dealings, criminal activity, scamming, lying, and cheating, it is real hard to come back from it. Is it impossible? No. But you can best believe that you'll always have that stigma stamped on you for the rest of your life that you were involved in some sort of mess. Again, I am on board for how Sutton feels about not wanting to be ride or die for Miss Erika and all the BS that her and her husband are involved in. Rinna takes it a step further and goes on to ask if they all believed Denise Richards last year. Kyle says no, Denise only said what she said to help protect her marriage. I just said Kyle and Rinna are just two sorry and pathetic individuals. My biggest issue with Kyle is that she acts like she's so nice and kind, but she's not. She's phony, she's two-faced, she likes to pretend like, you know, why are people coming at me? And she pulls all that crying stuff, and I just see right through it. I used to go up for her in earlier seasons, but as the show has progressed, she really does a lot of these people dirty, and she goes behind their backs. And then she wants to sit up there and pretend like somebody did something to her. And I really am just so tired of it. I'm so ready for somebody to pull Kyle's card. Dorit then jumps back in the conversation and says, Erika always acted as if her and Tom had a great and happy marriage and how Tom was a lawyer for the people. So Dorit goes on to say how if it's true that he stole $2 million from widows and orphans, that's really sickening to me. So Sutton pulls out her notes and goes down the list and reads off all the people that Tom cheated. I said, go ahead, Sutton. I said, go on and get your champagne flute for season 12. I said, go ahead, honey. I said, you have earned it. I said, this episode, you have wiped the slate clean for me. So Sutton goes on to say that ignorance is not an excuse. And honestly, this whole Erika trying to expose the mistresses, that's a deflection. Sutton needs to go into being a lawyer herself because she is on point. So the scene ends with all of them discussing Kyle's Christmas party and how they're all going to be there. Kyle goes on to say that she's going to ask Erika flat out if she knew about the money. And she says, it's time to ask Erika some questions. I said, okay, Kyle, we'll see about that. But anyhow, let me not jump ahead. So we move on to a short scene with Garcelle. She's at home and she is cooking up a feast. Can I tell you something? During this scene, my mouth was watering. I was like, I know Garcelle threw down in that kitchen, all right? Because Haitian food is so good. And one of my good friends is Haitian, and every time I go to one of her parties, I actually went to one of her parties a few weeks ago, and baby, they cook down. Like, everything. Chef's kiss. But I digress. And Garcelle is over the moon because all of her kids are under one roof. Her firstborn son is there, her daughter-in-law is there, and her grandson is there. Garcelle goes on to discuss her firstborn son Oliver's drug addiction and how it was a terrible time in her life, but she is just so happy that he's off drugs now, and now he's an amazing father, an amazing husband, and just an amazing son. And I just felt so bad that Garcelle blames herself for what happened with her son. And it was really touching to see in a scene between her and her son. He was like, you know, Mom, I take full accountability for what happened and what I did. Like, don't blame yourself. You were a great mom, a great parent. Like, what I did was all on me. And I just really hope that Garcelle finds peace and stops blaming herself because she didn't do anything wrong. And I was cracking up when Oliver called her granny. And she was like, okay, you know, I might be somebody's grandma, but don't sit up here calling me granny. So we move on to Kyle. And it is the night of her Christmas dinner. Kyle lets it be known that even though she's Jewish now, she still celebrates Hanukkah and Christmas. She's excited for the ladies to get there. Although I can't stand Kyle, I will say that her home is absolutely gorgeous and the decorations, everything looked amazing. Kyle lets us know for the millionth time that she cooked every single thing and she does not like anybody touching her food when it comes to the Christmas dinner. I said, okay, girl, we get it. You are the chef of all chefs. Side note, did anybody notice in Kyle's foyer, there were those neon lights that said, bitch, please, you can never be me. I was like, that's really cute, but there's something about Kyle's personality that stops her from being that girl. Like, her personality is just a bit too dry. It's lacking that, like, swag. I don't know what it is about Kyle, but it just gave very much trying too hard. But anyhow, I digress. Kyle's first guest arrives, and it is Miss Garcelle. Garcelle's happy to be there. She's excited, and she's like, okay, so is Erika coming? Kyle says, I think she is. She didn't decline the invitation, so we'll see. The next guest to arrive is Teddy Mellencamp. I said, I was just like, I'm really hoping and praying that this is not a sign that they're trying to have Teddy come back for next season. No, ma'am. Teddy was boring when she was on the show. She couldn't dress, and she cried about every single thing. Even Garcelle was like, oh, like Teddy? And I was cracking up because in Garcelle's confessional, the producer was like, you know, what's your deal with Teddy? And Garcelle was like, Teddy's just like an annoying little gnat. Like, she's just like, ugh. And she starts laughing. I was like, Garcelle, me and you are here on the same page because Teddy brought nothing to this show, nothing to this cast. Just an overall annoyance. So Lisa Rinna arrives next. Rinna, I can't stand you, but best believe I screenshot those Versace heels, sent them to my shoe guy at Neiman's and said, do y'all have these? I need these. Stop playing. Those shoes were everything. But anyhow, I digress. So Dorit arrives. She's at the door and she's having the hardest time getting in the house. I said, Dorit, if you don't just turn the damn doorknob. She was just banging on the door like, somebody help me. I can't get in. I can't unlock the door. Like, what's going on? I said, Dorit, how is everybody else able to unlock the door except you? I said, Dorit always just needs to have a moment. Like, it always feels like Dorit is doing everything for attention. Now we see Kathy arrive. She comes bearing a Valentino shopping bag. I said, okay, who is that for? I know that's right, Miss Kathy. So now Crystal arrives and everybody is going nuts because Crystal's all dressed up. She has her face beat. I don't know why they were acting like Crystal doesn't dress. Like every time I've seen Crystal on this show, she's dressed to the nines with a Birkin and a Chanel. Like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of weird how they were acting like Crystal's always dressed down. Also, we find out that Crystal and Teddy have known each other for a decade and they're really good friends. So they were embracing each other, happy to see each other. I said, oh, like, Crystal, you friends with Teddy? Like, again, I really hope that this is not Andy's way of trying to bring Teddy back on for next season. Please, God, please don't do it. So now Sutton arrives, and while I usually go in on Sutton's outfit, I said, I'm going to give you a pass, Sutton, because the way you stole the show and you won me over, I'm going to stop coming for your fashions. So everybody is there except for Miss Erika, okay? They're waiting for her to arrive. Rinna says, remember guys, it's innocent until proven guilty. I said, Rinna, that's really funny that you say innocent until proven guilty because you never gave Denise a chance whatsoever last season when that rumor broke out. You automatically sided with Brandy and said that your friend Denise was guilty. Again, I really want to understand where all this undying loyalty and love for Erika is coming from. I'm just not understanding it. So speak of the devil, Erika comes in and everybody's kind of shook. Erika's energy was just off. I was like, girl, you should have just stayed home. I said, now, Erika, I know your money's all messed up, but you're not that broke to show up to somebody's house empty-handed. I said, you're telling me you couldn't have stopped and gotten a little bottle of wine or a pie or a cake? You really are down and out, huh? Kyle's all talking about, oh my gosh, Erika, thank you so much for coming. So happy to have you. Do you want some champagne? Erika's like, no champagne for me. I drove here. I'll take a Coke. So Erika makes a joke about how she's radioactive these days, and Garcelle is like, yeah. I was dying. I said, ooh, Garcelle, I said, baby, you better get her. I said, please tear into Erika. So anyhow, they move into the living room, and they're just all talking amongst each other. Sutton whispers and starts asking Garcelle if Erika said hi to her. Garcelle says, nope, she didn't say hi to me, but she did wink at me. And I have not talked to her since the whole La Quinta trip and her blowing up at me. So, child, everybody is at the dinner table and they start eating. And here's where all hell breaks loose. Kyle starts it off and asks Erika if she feels like she's in a dream. Erika says, yeah, it feels like I'm in a dream. I feel like I can't believe that this is happening. I can't believe like it's my life. And every day it feels like it's something new. Dorit chimes in and says, I feel like we're at the beginning of all this. And Erika agrees. So baby, Sutton starts setting it off. And I loved how Sutton was sitting right next to Erika. I said, in my heart of hearts, I feel like production purposely did that because they wanted to get the moment and really capture the tension between Sutton and Erika at that table. So Sutton sets it off by asking, are you truly blindsided or are you able to get this information before it goes to press? Erika was so shocked by Sutton because she was looking at Sutton like, excuse me, what did you just ask me? Erika's like, no, Sutton, I'm not able to get information before it goes to press. Like, I find out like everybody else. So Dorit now jumps in and goes on to ask about the timeline, because she says the timeline of events and the LA Times article has me confused. Crystal also jumps in. Erika tells Dorit and Crystal that she doesn't know anything, like, girl, I don't know. So Sutton goes on to bring up the burn victims and how that was 10 years ago. And Erika tells her, look, I'm not answering any more questions, like, this better be it. I said, girl, not the way y'all questioned Denise. Not you going through an actual criminal case, okay, with your husband scamming and cheating folks out of millions of dollars of settlement money, and you talking about you not answering any more questions, and you're on a reality show with the cameras rolling. Girl, you're going to answer as many questions as they ask you. I said, girl, how dare you talk about you not answering any more questions? All the BS you've pulled with these other ladies over the years, I don't think so. Like I said in my last recap, Erika, it's your turn now, sis. Because honestly, you've really been skating by season after season, and you haven't had a storyline. So now it's your turn, girl. The spotlight is on you, honey. So while this is going on, Garcelle's sitting there and she's quiet. And you know when somebody's quiet because they're about to say something, like they're getting really pissed off. Garcelle was sitting there like, y'all were doing all this talking a few nights ago, but now y'all are in front of Erika and now it's crickets. Now y'all are backpedaling. Now everybody's all quiet as a church mouse. Cats got their tongue, mum's the word. So Dorit goes on to say, well, Erika, we're not going to ask or pry. And Garcelle interrupts and says, well, that's not what you were saying a few nights ago. So Dorit snaps at Garcelle and says, let me finish. I said, Dorit, now watch your mouth, girl. Not too much on my girl Garcelle. I said, Garcelle, I'm really going to need you to check these ladies. I don't like their tone. I don't like how they speak to you. So Dorit starts backtracking and she's like, well, Sutton wanted us to meet without you the other night. So now Erika's like, oh, really? Like, okay, so y'all are having a little committee about me, talking about me? Like, oh, I see how it is. I said, Dorit, that was so unnecessary for you to try to throw Sutton under the bus and say, well, it was Sutton's idea to meet without you and to talk about you. I said, girl. So Sutton jumps back into the conversation and she's trying to clear up her stance about things. She's like, look, Erika, I'm not saying that you knew what Tom was up to. And before she can finish her point, Rinna and Kyle interrupt her and they're like, be real about your stance, Sutton. Like, be real. Tell the truth about what you were saying the other night. I was like, you two are some cowards, especially you, Kyle. I said, Kyle, you have your raggedy nerve to sit up there and try to throw Sutton under the bus. You were the first one saying, we need to get to the bottom of this. I have some questions. When the party comes, I'm going to ask Erika this, that, and the third. And then for you to chicken out and throw it all on Sutton like Sutton's the bad guy, I said, y'all are just so raggedy. So Sutton says, look, Erika, I talked to my attorney. And Erika's like, you talked to an attorney about me? Garcelle hops in to defend her friend and she's like, I don't think Sutton was the only one who spoke to an attorney. So now the room is quiet and Erika's like, did anybody else speak to an attorney? And she's pissed. So Dorit comes clean and is like, yeah, well, I spoke to my husband and he let me know that we are in no way involved. So now Kyle jumps back in and chastises Sutton, and she has the nerve to say, you've got to be more clear about what you said the other night. I said, Kyle, how dare you? You are just as nasty and as pathetic as Lisa Rinna. That's why y'all two are so close, like two peas in a pod. I could not believe the way Kyle flipped on Sutton the way she did. I don't understand why y'all are so afraid of Erika. Who is Erika? Are y'all afraid she's gonna beat you up? Like, I'm just not understanding why y'all are so afraid of her. I would have confronted Erika. I would have asked Erika even more questions than Sutton did. I would have had Erika leaving that dinner early and leaving in tears. I'm just not understanding why Lisa Rinna and Kyle have this blind loyalty to this lady. But y'all didn't have it for Denise Richards. And Denise had allegedly slept with Brandy and had a threesome. Who cares about what she does in her own bedroom? This lady's husband was sitting up here scamming orphans, widows, burn victims, and y'all are sitting up here trying to be loyal to her. Like, I'm just confused how this works. So now Rinna chimes in and she makes it worse. She lets Erika know that Sutton is having doubts about Erika's involvement in this whole thing. Sutton says, look, we have to be real here. There's a $20 million elephant in the room, and Erika is visibly pissed. Garcelle lets it be known that she's not buying any of Erika's answers. She feels like it's all surface level, and she has her doubts as well. I said, Garcelle, you, me, and Sutton are on the same page because I don't believe anything that Erika's trying to sell us. So Sutton brings up how she has multiple LLCs and she knows where the money goes. And Erika says, look, I was kept away from the books all these years. So then Dorit jumps in and brings up the orphans and the widows and how they didn't get their settlement money. Erika goes on to say there was $50 to $80 million in an account that I had no idea about. And I too want to know where all the money went. I said, Erika, let me stop you right there. Talking about, I don't know where the money went. You don't? You don't, sis? Are we sure about that? Because it looked like that money went into those 2 private jets, your 3 closets, the 4 Lamborghinis. You had that $300,000 Cartier Panther ring and the matching bracelet, if I remember right. That was a cute $500,000 on your wrist and your finger. The multiple houses that you didn't even know that you guys owned. But you didn't know where that $50 to $80 million went. Got it. Erika keeps reiterating that nobody knows the answer except for Tom, and that it's not nice for any of these ladies to repeat all this stuff. I said, girl, shut up, because it wasn't nice how y'all did Denise. And y'all kept repeating that she had a threesome with Brandy Glanville. That wasn't nice either. So now Teddy interrupts, and when I tell you I forgot that Teddy was even there, that's how forgettable Teddy is. Teddy goes on to say, everybody needs to stop making this about them, okay? Like, everybody in this room has had lawsuits before. I said, oh yeah, I know that, especially Dorit and PK, because they're going through it right now with all their financial issues. And I was cracking up how everybody was silent at that table. Because I said, and Kyle and Mauricio were hit with a big lawsuit a few years ago too. So Teddy keeps going on and on and on, trying to defend Erika. I said, girl, shut up. Because if I recall, Erika didn't even like you. Erika was cursing you out and you were sitting at the table crying. But now all of a sudden you're Erika's defender? Garcelle is looking at everybody just disgusted. She can't believe how Kyle and Dorit have folded like a cheap deck of cards. So Garcelle interrupts and says, I'm gonna be real honest with you, okay? I know what it's like to have a loved one wait for something and still not get it. My sister had a kidney transplant and something went terribly wrong, and the lawyer pretty much ran off with the money. And she's still waiting for it, and she still has faith that the lawyer's going to give her the money, okay? And I didn't like the facial expressions that Kyle and Rinna were doing while Garcelle was telling her story. I said, y'all are just so rude and nasty, it really makes no sense. So Garcelle goes on to say, if Tom really did do this to these people, then F him. So now Dorit jumps back in and says, well, Erika, I just want to let you know that those of us who love you. And Garcelle is pissed, and she's like, what does that mean? That you guys are the only ones who love her? It's a competition now about who loves Erika more and who supports her? So Garcelle is just pissed. She's just kind of like, girl, just shut the F up. Like, she was just too through with everybody at that table. Garcelle is so pissed by Dorit. She looks at Erika and says, at the end of the day, girl, it's all about the victims. The victims are the most important because you're always going to be okay. So Erika is like, I know it's about the victims. The victims are number one. So Garcelle claps back and says, really? Are the victims the most important here? Because I haven't heard you say that. I said, Garcelle, get her. I said, get her. Do not spare Erika. So now my girl, Kathy Hilton, comes through, and you know Kathy is so matter of fact. She doesn't care. She's not sitting up here hand-holding anybody's feelings. It's like, I'm the richest one here. I'm the oldest one here. Y'all gonna listen to me, and I'm not biting my tongue. So Kathy's like, you know what? You're going to get through it. And at the end of the day, sis, it's about the victims first, then the families, and then you. So Erika's like, I know that. I want those people to get their money that's rightfully owed to them. And then she goes on to say she knows that she has a long road ahead of her and she doesn't expect any hand holding. And if they want to support her, that's fine. And if they don't want to support her, they want to jump off this crazy train, that's cool too. So this awkward, intense dinner is coming to an end. And Kyle has the nerve to fix her lips to say, I feel bad asking all these questions. And the way I got my life when Kathy said, well, it is good practice.
You know what? This is too much.
So Kyle's like, okay, let's break this dinner up. Let's go into the next room because we have dessert. They all trail behind Kyle, and then Sutton pulls Dorit to the side, and she's like, Dorit, you don't think that you threw me under the bus at this dinner? Because the other night, me and you were on the same page. Like, what happened? So Dorit's looking at Sutton playing stupid, and she's like, no, I didn't throw you under the bus. Like, yeah, we were on the same page. I was like, you are a bold-faced liar. So Erika leaves, and as she's heading out the door, Sutton gives her a gift, and she's like, from one Georgia girl to another. I said, Sutton, now here's what I have to read you. I wouldn't have given Erika anything. I would have said, okay. I would have taken my gift for Erika and brought it home with me. She would have left Kyle's house just as empty-handed as she came in. Erika jumps in her car. We see her in her confessional saying that she can smell the cowards from a mile away. I said, Erika, you have some nerve. Because I know you're referring to the cowards as Garcelle and Sutton. Because they're on to you. And they're not letting it slide. And you're just mad that they have the balls to not only stand up to you, but that they have their foot on your neck. Because you're lying. This was a fantastic episode, all right? And when I tell you that my blood was boiling the entire time. Sutton and Garcelle, you guys get the MVP award from me this episode. Y'all were absolutely flawless, okay? With that being said, I am just so happy that you two are going to continue to keep your foot on Erika's neck because she deserves it. And I hope that you continue to keep Dorit, Rinna, and Kyle in check because I can't stand them either, all right? But with all that being said, thank you all for watching my recap. I hope you all enjoyed. And as always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you all later. Bye.